Okay, another day, another log. This is what we've been doing. No one's really worried about custom furniture at the moment during this pandemic, so gotta keep myself busy. So I've been cutting logs. Let's see, what do we say about this guy? This is a customer's log. This tree came down in his brother's yard, and they wanted to salvage the first part of the trunk. And he has a plan to make something called a Bombe Chest out of this. So we have a very specific cut list we have to get out of it, which I will include the diagram of somewhere in this video. Be on the lookout for it. We sort of mapped out roughly where some cuts need to be here on the end of the log. But give you the idea behind the process of what's going on here. I'll be very, very honest with you. This log has no business being on my sawmill, or rather I should say, my sawmill has no business cutting this log. Here's why. It is wider than the rail. So what I need to do first is I need to trim off with my chainsaw. You see I sort of began to mark my cut guide there. I have to pare down with the chainsaw the width of this log so the rail can pass, so I can make a first cut, and then we're going to rotate the log 90 degrees clockwise, and then I'll need to take another side trim off the log so we can, kind of start to get the ball rolling on making the cuts we need. This log will be a lot of work, a lot of labor is going to go into it. There's going to be some head scratching because we got to make sure we make the right cuts. I'll try to talk about the process a little bit as I go through, so stay tuned. Alright, so here's a video on progress. We've got that side sliced off, so now the upright can pass over the log without getting jammed up. Over here, we were good from the start, no problem. So now the last obstacle I had to jump over was the blade guide. Has to be able to pass here without getting hung up. The saw carriage is raised to the highest limit, 27 inches above the saw bed, and it looks like I have pared enough away with my hewing axe to get us there right on that spot. So we're gonna fire up the mill, get it warmed up, and take the first cut at the maximum height that we can do on this face of the log, and we will see what happens. Alright, well, we made that first cut without any hiccups. The uprights were able to get past the log. The blade guide was able to sneak through without any problems. Nothing got jammed up. So we have our first flat cut on this log. I will tell you, it has been a lot of work up to this point. This log will be labor intensive. So I'm going to rotate the log 90 degrees clockwise so that this part is now face up, presenting to the blade, and then we will take another pass and see if we are ready to start taking boards from there. I will post the customer's cutting diagram in a couple seconds here in the video so you guys can see what we're going after. And of course I'll talk about that as we get into it. Alright, so after much work again, we've opened up the second face of the log. We had to chainsaw a little bit at the side again so the saw carriage could pass through the log. And we've cut another flat face. So we're going to rotate 90 degrees once more, get this on top, try to shave off a little bit more so that we can start taking full width cuts for the three main pieces that we need. 16 quarter thick slabs, so that's 4 inches thick. And so let me get to it. Okay, third rotation. This was a chainsaw cut before, so now we're going to give a nice flat cut with the sawmill, and then we will flip it once more and start taking our 16 quarter pieces. Well folks, it's official. This log is a pain in the ass. I hope my customer is appreciative. I'm just kidding, I know he will be. This is an important project for him, so we're doing the work that's necessary to get the job done. So I just took another face cut on this log, and here is what I'm thinking. He needs some 3-inch material for legs. So I'm actually going to take the 3-inch cut down to this line before I rotate again, and here's why. We weren't able to get one of the 3-inch boards he needed out of one of the first face cuts because the log is so wavy in nature. There's so many irregularities in the width of it that you couldn't get the 3 inches that you wanted off of the half round cut. So I'm going to take a 3-inch cut here and then rotate it, and then start taking our really thick boards that he needs for the carving. So it looks like I will need to do one more chainsaw trim here so the blade guides can pass through, and then take that 3-inch board, rotate one last time, and then we are home free to get the remaining material he needs out of this. Alright, here we are, day 3 cutting this log. Yep, you heard me right. It's the $1,000 log cutting job. Alright, so the reason for the pause was because there was a problem with some of the measurements, what we were going to get out of the log, that I had to reach out to the customer to verify a couple things, modify a couple things. So instead of taking 4 pieces at 16 quarter, 2 from the top, 2 from the bottom, we're going to do 12 quarter, 16 quarter, 6 quarter, get our quarter sawn material 1-inch boards as we approach the pith, flip it over, then get 12 quarter, 16 quarter, 6 quarter, and hopefully we should be able to get all of that out of the rest of this piece. So that's what we're going for. That's the plan of attack from here on out. I've flattened the top face here. We're going to take a 3-inch thick piece now, and then that piece will have a little bit of this waning edge still, but he will be able to get some material out of there. And then after that we take our full piece, first full piece at 12 quarter, then at 16 quarter, and then we'll see what happens from there. Okay, well, we got our piece at 12 quarter. We now have our piece at 16 quarter. If I didn't explain why already, because at this point I don't remember what I have or have not told you, so I'll sum it up again at the end when we're looking at the pieces. I'll tell you why, or what he's building that requires pieces like this. In the meantime, I'm just gonna, figure out how I'm gonna pick this thing up and move it. So yeah, that'll be fun. Okay, so we're flipped, and you can see that we are actually pretty close to our guide mark as to where we want it to be regarding the layout of the log. So we're now going to take another piece at 12 quarter, then a piece at 16 quarter, and we'll see what that leaves us for our 6 quarter and 4 quarter boards. Okay, 2 at 16 quarter, 2 at 12 quarter. We're not getting the 6 quarter boards out of this log because we've already reached the point where we need to take our 4 quarter sawn material. What I mean by that is we are approaching the pith area of the log, and he needs 1, 2, 3 pieces at 4/4, and 1, 2, 3 pieces at 3/4. We'll see what we can do after we get that regarding 6/4 material. So here's hoping. Okay, the log was ripped in half right along the pith, and that half of the log produced something like 14 inches wide, and this half of the log produced something like 8 inches wide. So now I'm laying them back on their sides with the growth rings running parallel, I'm sorry, I should say perpendicular to the saw blade right now. And we're going to take our cuts at 4/4 on this one, and then we're going to take our cuts at 3/4 on the other cant that's down there. So let's see what we get. Alright, so we got our 4/4 and 3/4 boards, 6 of each, I think, maybe 7 of the 4/4. So that should make what he needs for the drawer parts and drawer dividers for the chest that he's making. Beyond that, I'm going to have to take some 6/4 silver maple from inventory and include that in here, so he has what he needs to make up legs for the chest he's making. So what we'll do is, in a chart, I will draw up the boards we made, total board footage of the log, and then I'll give some final general impressions of what this log was like to saw. Well, here we are. 77 hours and 232 board feet later of silver maple. You can see some nice fat chunks there, 16/4 and 12/4. 10/4 hunk on top. Then over here, these are the 4/4 and 3/4 pieces that my customer needs for his drawers. And then I cut him out of my inventory. I resawed some 12/4 silver maple I had, and got him some 6/4 that we were not able to get out of his log. And it turns out the 6/4 was pretty important to this project, because guess what? It is the top of the chest that he's making. So he needs that. Anyway, so he's picking this all up tomorrow. Thank goodness. I don't want to touch it again. Those boards are really heavy. I would say they are close to 250 pounds each on the 16/4 hunks. Like I said in the beginning, this log had no business being on my sawmill. Just a little too wide, just a little too difficult to rotate and spin because it was irregular. Difficult to get the cuts that we needed out of it because there was a lot of wane and irregular shape. So, if this were walnut, yeah, no problem. I would take the time to do it and keep it for inventory. But personally, I would never accept a log this big just for myself. But happy to do it for my customer because he trusts me, and he values my input on things. So I'll wrap this up with taking a snapshot of the board footage and what we got out of it, and also to summarize what he's making from it, and include a couple photos of the chest style that he is building. This chest won't be built for probably a 1.5 years now, complete it. Maybe we'll get a chance to revisit it then. In the meantime, take care. Hope you're all well and safe during this lockdown, and also hope you're getting some projects done. Until next time.